I'll just do some impromptu ad-libbing while I find them. I'll introduce myself. My name is Craig, as you've heard. I've had the enormous privilege of knowing Paul since 1995, when we both rocked up to Leeds University Law Faculty. Neither of us, I think, quite knowing why we'd chosen to study law. After that, we moved into a shared house with a couple of other guys who stayed around in Leeds. And for 3 years that we were in the shared house, we had a thoroughly entertaining time. One of the most humorous periods of my life, I would say, not least because of Paul's attitude and interesting take on life. So when it got to January, Paul asked me to be his best man. Well, first reaction, obviously, what a tremendous honour, what a great privilege. To be up here and to try and help Paul through his big day in what little way I could. Second reaction then, there's a bit of fear, a bit of nervousness about this very moment when I stand up here and presumably some anticipation that I would reminisce wittily about some of Paul's past japes. You were pleased to know the fear didn't last long, 2 or 3 milliseconds. So it quickly struck me that this is Paul Bennett we're talking about. Never in the field of human history has any guru done so much to ensure his best man is well armed. But then it got, I got to thinking then, well, how can I best frame all this juicy source material? How can I do something helpful? Then it struck me that this is a very transitional day. It's a day when Paul turns from bachelor into married man. It's almost like we're handing him over. Us, the family and friends of Paul, are handing him over to Nicky. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe there's an opportunity there. Now, Paul doesn't come with an instruction booklet. So maybe with that in mind, I present my 6 points Paul Bennett's handover.
Here it goes, partridge.
Point number 1. Keep out of direct sunlight. Now, those of you familiar with the film Gremlins might be thinking I'm going down a rather cheap route, where rule number 2 is don't get him wet, and rule number 3 is don't feed him after midnight, or he'll turn into a gremlin. I know he won't turn into a gremlin. I've seen him eat after midnight, and whilst it wasn't a refined dining experience, no gremlins emerged. Now, what I'm talking about here is Paul's complexion, which is best described as North European. Many of us have North European complexions, but Paul combines this with a strange aversion to sun cream, through his own devices, which, when mixed with a slight exposure to the sun on a cloudy April day, leaves him looking like that. See how Paul has worn a bright red t-shirt to try and offset Another question this photo does bring up is, where is Paul sitting when he has a beer in front of him and a toilet system? But he looks happy enough in that, so I won't dwell. Point number 2. Paul is a human sat-nav. He has an incredible nose for direction, and if used well, if this power is harnessed, it might mean you never get lost again. An illustration I'll briefly refer to demonstrate Paul's amazing powers in this area. We went to Swindon a few years back to visit James. The first time we'd ever been there, a night out ensued, and we kind of got split up, got fragmented into smaller groups. Paul found himself on his own. Taxis were hard to come by, it was very cold. So Paul thought, well, I'm on my own in a strange town, how am I going to get back? I'll walk. And Paul just walked back to James' house, despite never having been to Swindon before. He spent maybe an hour there, 2 hours, no map, didn't ask for directions, straight back. Got back before most of us who'd taken the taxi. An incredible feat. But there's a caveat. Harness his powers wisely, because Paul has a tendency to take the indirect route, the scenic route, the shortcuts. Never the straightforward route. Sometimes when walking home late tonight is another feature of Paul here. Sometimes he'll take the route via a local beauty spot or park. Sometimes maybe the car park of the local maximum security prison. one occasion that springs to mind to illustrate the dangers here. Paul walking back from Leeds city centre to Meanwood, a 3-mile or so walk on his own in the middle of the night to save on taxi fares, presumably. Now you might think a man doing that there were dangers. He might be stopped by an aggressive youth, say, who might demand money or something like that. And Paul did indeed arrive home looking like he'd maybe not been plain sailing, maybe there'd been an issue. But Paul was a sailor and hadn't been eased. Paul had been instead attacked by a particularly vicious bunch of stinging nettles. He somehow managed to fall into following a tumble down a short grassy bank. Now, I don't know how he managed to find the grassy bank with the stinging nettles. I have to say that the most obvious way from Leeds to Meanwood is the aptly named Meanwood Road. But too easy for Paul. So my advice to Nicky here is use Paul's powers, but just have caution. Enough on that. Point number 3, keep an eye on mental health. I don't want to dwell on this, it's a happy occasion, but Paul has come close to the abyss. At a certain time. Do not leave Paul in charge of motor maintenance. This is a 1997 Vauxhall Corsa Breeze, not dissimilar to the one that Paul used to drive around, albeit one crucial difference. Paul's had a disconcertingly low-slung exhaust, a noisy exhaust at that, for a number of years. Now, throughout this period when this exhaust was low-slung and noisy, Paul maintained that this was in fact a design feature of the 1997 model, and no fix was needed. Now, I have consulted the Haynes Motor Manual. There was no such design feature on the 1997 Breeze. And for that reason, my confidence in this area has been dented. So, Paul, I would say, let Nicky just oversee these. Number 5, lookalikes. I can't really dress this up as a tip or a hint. It's just a gratuitous opportunity to look at some of Paul's celebrity lookalikes. I must warn you, if you're uninitiated to the world of celebrity lookalikes, standards may vary. I offer no guarantee of quality. And if Paul were to defend himself, he'd use phrases like "fox calling the kettle black," but sadly it doesn't work like that. Let's have a look at it. That is the man we're talking about, Paul Bennett. Again, I wonder why he's got a shrub growing on his shoulder in this particular photo, but he looks happy, looks quite chirpy there. Now, many people have speculated that they are suspicious that they have never seen Paul in the same room as top celebrity chef Jamie Oliver. However, Paul's cooking is limited to dishes with 10 or more chilies in it. So I don't think it's a wide enough range to justify a career as a celebrity chef. I don't think there's anything in that. Other people have suggested that Paul moonlights as Hollywood actor Philip Seymour Hoffman. Paul does have a fantastic range of fancy dress personas, though I don't think he's got quite the theatrical talents to carry a career in Hollywood. So again, I suggest nothing in that. No, for me, if you want one celebrity lookalike from Paul, there's only one candidate. Now, sadly, timelines preclude any speculation that these two men are in fact the same individual. But I think you'll agree with me that it is a truly spooky experience to place a photo of Paul alongside a photo of legendary entertainer, Mr. Benny Hill. Number 6, Paul is a master of disguise. I alluded some moments ago to Paul's repertoire, his array of fancy dress personas. Now in this area, Paul's approach mirrors his approach in life in many ways. In that, why bother doing something in a direct, straightforward and easy manner when there is a slightly more indirect, slightly more obscure, but above all, more entertaining way of doing things? So when Paul gets invited to a James Bond theme party, for example, he doesn't go in a tux with a plastic gun in his top pocket. No, Paul chooses a minor character. He goes for Felix Leiter, Bond's CIA counterpart. But not just any old Felix Leiter, very specifically the Felix Leiter from Goldfinger, thus resulting in this very Now, Felix Leiter in Goldfinger spends about 5 minutes on screen. I expect nobody can actually remember what he looks like. So there he is. I think it'll be that's an excellent stab at providing comparison. So, in fact, when I put this together, I kept getting confused. I kept getting them mixed up and putting them in the wrong order, so I had to label them. I think Paul knows his art. Oscars disguise on this presentation thing to talk about Felix Leiter. I hope you're all familiar with the TV series The A-Team. Now, distressingly, the A-Team are not real. You can't hire them. But I'm here to tell you that there is a real-life alternative. If you have a problem, and if nobody else can help, and if you can find him, maybe you can hire B.A. Bennett. Is everyone in the back? Can you see that? I have to confess, Paul got a bit stitched up for that outfit by the other members of the A-Team. But I can honestly say no man on this planet could have carried that costume and such verve as Paul Bennett. I'll just leave that there for a bit longer. That concludes the japes on that one. No more photos. Apologies if you didn't hear your favourite Paul Bennett story in there. There were simply too many, and I figured you'd want to go home before midnight. By way of compensation, there is a 3-volume leather-bound compendium available of all your favourite Paul anecdotes. Volume 1 entitled Paul and his Fascist Relationship with West Indian Test Cricket Legends. Volume 2 entitled Paul's Allergies and Other Animals. And Volume 3 entitled Paul's Adventures in Brazil. I'll stop being mean about Paul there. I hope what that does show, I'll get rid of that as well. Then so much a photo of B.A. Bennett. I hope what it does show is what a fantastically entertaining guy Paul is, how much I've enjoyed his friendship over the past 15 years. He does have other qualities, and his marriage isn't based on entertainment value alone. I should say he's a very generous individual, both with his time and whatever else he's got. He's a very intelligent guy, always a considered view on the world and a mine of information. And above all, he's a very genuine guy, no pretension with Paul. So I hope those are some of the qualities Nicky's found. I'm sure they are, amongst others. As for Nicky, I'm sure you'll join me in agreeing that I think she looks fantastic today. And I would certainly like to thank her for making Paul so happy and adding a new air of contentment, I should say, to Paul. So with that, all that remains for me to do is to ask you to reach for your glasses and to raise them to Paul and Nick.
Paul and Nick.